Everything you thought you knew about spiritual destiny is about to be challenged. For years, countless voices have claimed they alone understood the path of the chosen. Yet new revelations and controversies keep emerging to flip those old beliefs on their head. If you're reading this, consider it no accident. There's a reason you've been drawn here, and it goes far beyond curiosity. The journey you're about to embark on may unearth truths that rattle your current worldview and leave you wondering if you too are standing at the threshold of a final test that could transform everything. We live in a time when skepticism and cynicism run rampant. Far too many self-proclaimed spiritual guides have promised instant miracles or secret formulas to transcend life's hardships, only to face intense backlash when their claims crumble. Rumors abound of supposed prophets who drew in crowds by the thousands, then abruptly vanished under accusations of financial misconduct. Still, there's an undeniable fascination surrounding the notion that certain people walk with a fate more significant than others. They are referred to as chosen, endowed with a special mission, facing extraordinary challenges that serve as a crucible for their faith or character. Whether you're a believer, a casual observer, or even a critic, you've likely felt the pull of something bigger than yourself, something that whispers you might be part of a far-reaching story. But here's the first twist in this unfolding narrative. Being chosen isn't always a conscious decision. Many who stepped into the public eye, claiming a holy mandate, have dealt with unexpected storms of controversy. From historical figures condemned as heretics for revealing cryptic visions, to modern influencers cancelled when new evidence surfaced about questionable conduct, the pattern remains consistent. Some stand firm and weather the scandal, emerging with renewed conviction. Others disappear into obscurity, leaving behind a trail of speculation. Through it all, one question echoes: who determines whether someone is genuinely called or merely chasing illusions? For centuries, people have looked back at ancient texts and commentaries to identify a universal theme. Trials by fire appear in every tradition that speaks of elevated callings. Yet here's the part often left out of sanitized stories. In many historical accounts, these tests were downright terrifying. Individuals faced life-altering choices that could result in social exile, destruction of their reputations, or even more dire fates. Consider those who risked clashing with ruling powers because they believed they'd received a divine message. Some rose to immense influence, while others vanished into footnotes of history after failing that final test. Unsettling rumors, often unproven yet persistent, swirled around them. Secret alliances, hidden revelations, or condemnations that they'd lost their mind. What stayed consistent was the sense that each of them faced a point of no return, a moment when their faith or conviction could collapse under pressure. Even today, whispers persist of individuals receiving advanced knowledge or uncanny insight, only to be written off by the mainstream. Sometimes these stories leak onto the internet in cryptic social media posts, messages implying that a powerful cosmic alignment is near, or that revelations about society's future were entrusted to just a few. The pushback is immediate. Skeptics line up with evidence disclaiming mystical phenomena or miracle cures. Detractors brand these figures as frauds. The swirl of rumors can be dizzying. Was that person truly guided by a higher source, or were they scamming desperate followers for donations? Did those controversies begin because envious rivals fabricated accusations, or were there legitimate reasons for public outrage? The truth is rarely simple, and in the chaos, genuine seekers are left to wonder which path is authentic. What if, however, the real final test has less to do with external events and more with the private landscape of your mind? Time and again, the greatest hurdle for those who sense a higher call has proven to be their own doubt. The human tendency is to fixate on tangible crises, finances drying up, loyal allies turning away, or hearing gossip that you've lost your sense of reality. Yet the fiercest battle often rages within, coaxing you to doubt the very convictions that once burned bright. Rumors and controversies can definitely tarnish someone's public image, but internal hesitation is frequently the invisible villain that does the most damage. Could it be that the culminating challenge, the true final test, is to master your inner dialogue and choose to persevere in the face of all that contradicts your calling? Personal stories from modern times echo this theme. Take, for example, the account of a small-town teacher who believed she had a prophetic gift. At first, her aspirations were humble. She just wanted to help individuals in her community find hope. But as word spread that her prayers or meditations brought unimaginable comfort, people traveled from distant places to seek her guidance. That's when rumors started. Some critics claimed she was orchestrating an elaborate scam, while others believed she might be dabbling in forbidden practices. A frenzy of online debates ensued, each side bombarding the other with evidence. Under that weight of condemnation and suspicion, she nearly abandoned her mission. She described her darkest hour not as the moment she read scathing accusations online, but the day she woke up and realized she wasn't sure she could trust her own instincts anymore. In that state of deep self-doubt, she recognized the hidden test. Would she let fear and uncertainty undermine everything she'd worked for, or would she rise above the noise, firmly anchored in what she felt was her purpose? You might wonder why such crises of faith erupt right at the threshold of success or a major breakthrough. Many spiritual thinkers propose that this phenomenon is no coincidence. On the eve of transformation, opposition tends to intensify. Some call it spiritual warfare. Others see it as a natural psychological pushback against changing your identity and embracing a bigger responsibility. Either way, this tension point is where destinies can be won or lost. It's like the final uphill climb before you glimpse the panoramic view at the summit. The path is steep and exhausting, yet the reward could be spectacular. And that's precisely where doubt tries to strangle your progress, luring you to quit inches away from triumph. Countless well-known stories revolve around leaders who walked straight into that crucible. Some overcame every accusation hurled at them. They revealed deep resilience, forging alliances or doubling down on their mission even when it felt like the world wanted them to fail. Others took a different route, stepping away from public life, a decision they said preserved their mental peace. Yet every outcome, successful or not, hinged on how they responded to negativity and internal turmoil. While external trials often get the headlines, it's the response of the heart that carries the real weight. You might also have encountered testimonies of miraculous turnarounds, times when a denounced figure was publicly discredited, yet emerged stronger and more widely respected after addressing the root cause of the allegations. For some, that meant repentance or offering restitution. For others, it involved a transparent reveal of hidden truths that explained their unusual experiences. No matter the scenario, these turnarounds have a tendency to drop jaws. Observers often wonder how someone so thoroughly discarded could rise to prominence once more. The controversies make these journeys even more gripping, and it's precisely because we love a redemption arc that we keep watching. But redemption is never a neat, tidy package. It usually comes with tears, revelations of personal failings, and painstaking efforts to rebuild trust. In essence, it's another layer of testing, one that transforms not just the public's perspective, but also the individual's self-awareness. And this leads us to a crucial insight. Redemption and the final test aren't necessarily about cleaning your image in front of people. Often, it's about confronting what lies in the deepest recesses of your heart. Real redemption means acknowledging the darkest doubts and regrets, then making a deliberate decision to move beyond them. It's not about denying your scars or rewriting history. It's about refusing to let the mistakes and confusion define your ultimate destiny. Perhaps as you read, you feel an unusual resonance. Maybe you're not a public figure or a spiritual teacher, but you find parallels to your own struggles. The notion that you're on the verge of a life-altering shift might ring true, even if the details differ. You might have faced repeated disappointments, financial setbacks, relationship turmoil, or friendships that unraveled in ways you never saw coming. Or you might be wrestling with quieter challenges, the subtle sense that you're failing to meet an unseen standard, or the suspicion that there's a bigger purpose you've been reluctant to step into. If that rings a bell, consider the possibility that this is your test, that pivotal moment described in so many accounts throughout history, the spiritual tipping point that compels you to either accept your calling or step away from it. Sometimes, the greatest controversy isn't swirling around a person on the internet, but within the person's soul. Internal debates can be fierce and disorienting. You might question whether a dream or vision you had years ago was merely imagination. You might replay conversations with people who encouraged you, while simultaneously recalling the cutting words of skeptics who insisted you're chasing fantasies. Make no mistake, that internal swirl is just as real as any public scandal. It can be far more powerful than external opposition because only you can conquer it. Others may offer counsel, but you alone decide whether to continue the journey or concede to the walls of uncertainty closing in. Ancient narratives often reference dark nights of the soul, episodes in which a person stands at the cusp of either forging an unshakable faith or collapsing under despair. Such nights can be accompanied by heartbreak, deep isolation, or a near-total absence of clarity. The contradictory voices become deafening. The external controversies blend with internal confusion. Yet ironically, this lonely experience can pave the way for the most radiant dawn. For those who hang on, something extraordinary happens, a shift in perspective, a new dimension of wisdom, and sometimes an almost miraculous pivot in circumstances. You hear stories of individuals enduring a prolonged season of apparent failure, only to see doors open in ways they never expected, leading them to bigger impact and deeper fulfillment. Modern spiritual circles have debated whether these breakthroughs are coincidences or divine orchestration. The arguments can get intense. Some hold firmly that it's a cosmic alignment or the direct intervention of a benevolent force. Others propose it's simply the human psyche adapting to challenges, harnessing resilience that was always dormant. Whichever theory you lean toward, the transformative outcome remains evident. Lives change when people push beyond their darkest doubts. Their relationships shift, new paths unfold, and they discover that adversity served as a catalyst rather than a dead end. Yet here's another layer of speculation that stirs the pot. Could some individuals be using the allure of final test language to manipulate others? Unfortunately, history is full of instances where cunning leaders exploited the fear of missing out on a grand destiny to gain control, whether financially, emotionally, or psychologically. Documents have surfaced describing entire groups that fell apart under revelations of abuse or exploitation by a charismatic figure. Those events leave behind a wake of confusion, causing many to recoil from any mention of a divine calling. The cynicism is understandable, but just because some exploit the concept doesn't mean there isn't an authentic experience for others. Sometimes the same phenomenon that fosters genuine transformation is misappropriated by opportunists. This muddy reality forces each individual to search deeply for truth. The best protection against deceptive influences often lies in fostering self-awareness and discernment. Discernment is more than a knack for seeing through con artists. It's about learning to trust reliable sources, be they spiritual texts, wise mentors, or the quiet wisdom gleaned from personal reflection. A balanced approach acknowledges the possibility of real spiritual growth while staying alert for red flags. If someone demands unquestioning devotion and lavish monetary gifts under threat of spiritual ruin, that's typically a warning sign. Authentic trials often revolve around personal growth and fortitude, not surrendering your integrity or well-being to satisfy another's greed. Many controversies revolve around these boundary violations, but ironically, each exposed scandal also heightens the public's ability to discern genuine transformation from manipulative showmanship. These layers of complexity underscore why the final test can be so difficult to navigate. It's not merely about standing firm in your convictions, it's also about filtering out manipulative narratives that might steer you astray. In the end, the final test, for some, becomes an opportunity to refine their capacity for critical thinking and hone their spiritual instincts. It's a crucible that forges both faith and reason, blending them into a balanced perspective. When we look back at the tapestry of history, we find patterns among those who overcame seemingly insurmountable odds, unwavering dedication to their calling, willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, and an openness to correction when they discovered their path had flaws. Think of individuals who publicly apologized after revelations of wrongdoing. They lost followers initially, but after consistent actions to rectify their errors, many regained credibility. Their stories illustrate that failing a test doesn't always mean permanent disqualification. It often means learning a hard lesson and emerging more humble, yet paradoxically more powerful. So, what about you? Are you standing on the brink of a personal test that demands an unshakable sense of purpose? Are you sifting through controversies, whether external or internal, trying to decide if you have what it takes to face scrutiny, push past your own self-doubt, and chase a destiny that feels both daunting and exhilarating? The mere fact that you're engaging with this question suggests you might indeed be closer to your own pivotal turning point than you realize. Once you sense that tension rising, it's hard to ignore. You might try to distract yourself or bury the calling under piles of responsibilities, but it never fully goes away. It resurfaces at night, in quiet moments, or whenever you see someone else living wholeheartedly in their truth. Often, the moment you're about to experience transformation, you'll notice the chaos intensify. Unexpected problems show up, relationships feel strained, or old insecurities surge back into your mind. It's almost as though an unseen force is testing your resolve. That's why this period is often labeled the final test, not because it's the last challenge you'll ever face, but because it's the ultimate gauge of your readiness. Will you crumble or will you stand? To stand firm doesn't mean ignoring valid concerns or forging blindly ahead. Authentic confidence includes self-reflection and the humility to acknowledge when you need guidance. Many who succeed in passing their final test do so through a combination of prayer or meditation, honest self-examination, and a willingness to learn from those who've traveled a similar road. Pride can be a stumbling block, particularly when controversies swirl around you. Holding on to your convictions is vital, but refusing to listen to constructive feedback is a recipe for downfall. Another aspect that complicates this journey is the existence of contradictory voices within spiritual communities. Some leaders insist that hardships are always a mark of righteousness, while others caution that certain hardships are self-inflicted, stemming from an unwillingness to adapt. The tension between these perspectives can leave you baffled. Are you truly under a divine test? Or are you sabotaging your own progress with poor choices? Sorting through that question is, in itself, part of the final challenge. Wisdom grows when you can discern a purposeful trial from a problem of your own making. Despite the complexity, many people describe a profound sense of peace once they step across that invisible line. Even if circumstances remain chaotic, an inner calm takes root. They describe it as being anchored in an unshakable truth that no external storm can uproot. This peace often coincides with a renewed clarity about life goals, relationships, and personal priorities. Friends or acquaintances might observe a noticeable shift. You speak with more conviction, carry yourself with a quiet assurance, and approach obstacles with calm determination. You become less reactive to rumors or negative chatter because you're firmly tethered to a purpose that runs deeper than public opinion. Admittedly, not everyone chooses to walk that path. Some decide the price is too high. They retreat, returning to their comfort zone and distancing themselves from anything that might trigger controversy or backlash. It's neither right nor wrong to make that choice. Everyone's journey is unique, and for some, stepping away is precisely what they need. However, those who do cross the threshold often talk about a sense of fulfillment that cannot be replicated by any other pursuit. They speak of breakthroughs, not just in terms of external success, but in the intangible realms of self-discovery, confidence, and freedom from the paralyzing weight of doubt. It's worth noting that controversies may not vanish even after you pass through your personal trial. Critics might still question your motives, or old rumors could resurface. Yet your perspective on these challenges transforms radically. Rather than seeing them as threats to your identity, you view them as minor obstacles or even opportunities to demonstrate renewed integrity. You no longer feel compelled to justify yourself to every skeptic, nor do you wilt under disapproval. The final test, in a strange twist, frees you from the shackles of needing external validation. People sometimes ask, when do I know I've truly passed the test? The answer varies, but a common sign is a sense of inner liberation, coupled with outward alignment. You no longer wrestle incessantly with whether you're good enough or qualified. Your focus shifts from proving yourself to simply living out your calling. Action flows more effortlessly, and though you still experience moments of uncertainty, they don't unhinge you as before. That unwavering conviction is your best indicator that you've moved into a new chapter of your spiritual or personal evolution. The road ahead will still have peaks and valleys. Life doesn't magically turn into a smooth ride. However, the transformation you experience at the core level changes how you respond to each valley. You develop resilience that confounds onlookers who remember your old patterns of anxiety or self-sabotage. In some cases, you'll spark curiosity and inspire others to examine their own potential. They might not adopt your worldview, but they'll notice the difference in your demeanor, how you carry yourself, and the joy that radiates even in hardship. This is why stories of redemption and personal triumph resonate so powerfully with audiences. On some level, we all sense that we too harbor untapped reserves of potential. Watching someone else beat the odds reminds us that our own limitations might be more malleable than we imagined. Of course, there's also a cautionary side. Seeing a fall from grace warns us that we must remain vigilant, checking our motives and staying humble. Both cautionary tales and redemptive arcs serve a purpose in guiding us through life's winding path. Now, consider how all of this applies to your own storyline. Have you been wrestling with an internal tug-of-war lately? Some part of you confident that you're heading for bigger things, while another part warns it's all too risky. If so, you might already be in the thick of your trial. Perhaps you've encountered external controversies, or maybe your personal relationships are straining under the weight of your ambitions. It's possible that you've lost the support of people who once cheered you on. These disappointments can feel devastating in the moment, but they also clarify who and what matters most. As you keep moving forward, remember that the final test isn't designed to destroy you. Though it can feel crushing at times, it's meant to refine your character, sharpen your discernment, and deepen your resolve. If you allow yourself to learn from every stumble, each hardship transitions into a stepping stone. And if there's one recurring lesson from all these accounts, historical, modern, personal, it's that no trial is permanent. Even the darkest seasons pass. Your responsibility is to persist long enough to reach that glimmer of daylight on the other side. When you do cross that threshold, prepare for a transformation in how you perceive yourself. Old insecurities that once had a stranglehold on your mind may lose their power. Controversies that used to wound you might start glancing off like dull arrows. That doesn't mean you become indifferent. Rather, you grow in emotional and spiritual maturity. Your perspective shifts from, "I must defend myself at all costs," to, "Let my actions speak for themselves." You'll discover that the real test was never about winning the approval of others. It was about becoming the person capable of fulfilling a destiny that calls for depth, authenticity, and unwavering conviction. Of course, the outcome of this entire process is not guaranteed. It depends on your choices, on whether you give in to cynicism and fear, or set your sights beyond the horizon of temporary struggles. Some people see the heartbreak and doubts as signs to turn back. Others interpret them as essential forging fires. The difference in outlook often determines who emerges as a catalyst for greatness and who remains an observer on the sidelines. If you suspect you're one of those poised for a dramatic turning point, remember that every redemption story begins with a willingness to confront the broken pieces. Ignoring pain or burying your head in the sand only delays the day when those unresolved issues resurface. True healing and growth come from acknowledging where you've been hurt, how you've possibly hurt others, and where misunderstandings might have distorted your perspective. Own your journey honestly, and you'll find unexpected allies along the way. In that spirit of openness, also remember the significance of finding mentors or peers who can provide steady guidance. You're not meant to navigate every spiritual or personal challenge alone. Isolation can worsen doubt, so surround yourself with voices that encourage accountability, love, and thoughtful feedback. The final test may ultimately be yours to face, but moral support can be the difference between perseverance and giving up prematurely. So, here we are, nearing the end of this discourse, but perhaps only the beginning of your personal quest. The controversies, rumors, and public uproars you've read about are just glimpses of a bigger truth. These outward dramas often mirror the inward conflicts people wrestle with every day. The real battle for many is fought in the quiet corners of the soul, where no camera or headline can reach. That's where the decisive blows are struck, where your inner voice either pushes you forward or pulls you under. Take a moment to reflect. Are you prepared for that confrontation with yourself? Are you ready to face your doubts head-on and stand in a purpose that might invite skepticism or even outright hostility from some circles? Is the promise of a deeper fulfillment, a destiny only you can fulfill, enough to carry you through the hardships? Only you can answer those questions, and only time will tell if the path you choose leads to triumph or stagnation. But the invitation is there, and it resonates through countless testimonies. This final test can become your gateway to a life that surpasses your greatest hopes. You may find that the real revelation wasn't about some mythical ceremony or a cosmic sign proclaiming you chosen. The ultimate revelation could be your own willingness to rise when everything tells you to stay down. In that decision lies power, the kind that can reshape your identity and impact the world around you in ways you've never imagined. Now, as we conclude, think about the controversies swirling in your mind, the conflicting messages, the hurtful gossip, the disheartening news stories of fraudulent leaders, the uplifting accounts of redemption, and the faint whisper that you might have a calling worth protecting. Allow yourself to question how all of this weaves into the tapestry of your life. Because whether you consider yourself chosen or just curious, these themes are universal. Everyone will, at some point, face a hurdle that tests their core beliefs. Will you pass your final test or walk away from your destiny? The choice is intimate and deeply personal, yet the implications may ripple out to countless others who need your resilience as a beacon. Let this be the moment you decide to stand, to trust, and to keep moving forward, controversies and all. The future, after all, belongs to those who refuse to yield in the face of overwhelming doubt. And that could include you, if you're prepared to step into your story and live it in a way only you can.